In this video, we'll go over a copy of the final exam preparation quiz to help you get ready for your final exam. In question number 1, you'll see the formulas that will also be available to you on the final exam. Alright, so let's go through. Some of these questions I needed to make some detailed notes, so I have detailed solutions in a separate handout which you have available in my courses. So problem number 2 is an exponent problem, and we've got parentheses with powers outside. So remember, when we want to distribute that, we're going to have to raise a power to a power, and we're going to have to multiply. So in the first case here, excuse me, we're raising it to the third power. The negative 1 is going to stay as negative 1. Negative 1 cubed is still negative 1. R squared raised to the third power gives us r to the 6th. S raised to the third power gives us s cubed. In the second parentheses, we're going to square negative 1 and get a positive 1. R to the 4th squared is r to the 8th. S to the 4th squared is s to the 8th. And now we can go ahead and combine similar terms. So the r term is going to become r to the 14th, s to the 11th, and the negative stays in front. Question number 3, again, we're using exponents, so we want to distribute this 4. So we're going to get 9 to the 4th and then m to the 32nd power. And then we go ahead and raise 9 to the 4th power, and we get 65, 61, m to the 32nd power. Find the circumference and area of the circle with a given diameter. So the diameter of our circle is 17 centimeters. We want the radius, so we're going to divide that by 2. Circumference formula, 2 pi r. 2 pi, here's our radius. Notice the 2 and the 2 cancel, so I've got 17 pi, multiply 17 by 3.14, and we come up with 53.4 centimeters. For the area, pi r squared, again our radius is 8.5. We're going to square it first, 72.25, multiplied by pi, and we come up with 226.9 square centimeters. Combine like terms here. The terms are all the same, so we're simply going to add the coefficients. 8 and 6 is 14, minus 4 is 10, minus 6 gives us 4b squared. Simplify this expression. Now if we notice here, and I remember I have a mistake on this one, we're going to combine the square terms, and we're going to have not negative 11 but negative 14 x squared plus 24 xy, and then we have the plus 5. Simplify the expression. I'm going to go ahead and simplify inside the parentheses first. 19 minus 33 gives me minus 14. 7 goes into minus 14 negative 2 times. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Simplify the expression. We're going to go inside the parentheses first, do those first. So 7 minus 3 is 4. And then we've got negative 8 minus 10 gives us negative 18. We're going to subtract, turn it into adding, so we're going to add that opposite. So we're going to add 18. 14 plus 18 is 22. Minus 10 minus 22 is negative 32. Find the numerical value if x equals 7 and y equals 5. So we're going to replace x with 7 and y with 5. So we have 7 plus 6 times 5, so that's 7 plus 30 or 37. Multiplied by 4 is 148. Let's go back over here for the next few. Use the distributive power to rewrite this expression. Alright, so this is a pretty easy one. We're going to distribute, so we're going to get 9n plus 54. And another simple one down here, we're going to go ahead and distribute. So this is going to be equal to 2x, and now we have x squared. And then we have minus 12. Whoops, still in the exponent. Minus 12x. So the answer there is D. Okay, number 12, I'm going to go to my detailed solutions. For number 12, we could distribute or FOIL. I chose to use FOIL, so when I multiply, I take the first times the first, which is a squared, minus the outer, minus 7a, plus the inner, plus 3a, and then minus 21, the last. Combine the two a terms, so I end up with a squared minus 4a minus 21. Let's go back over here for number 13. Okay, in this case, and this should be a 2 down here and not a 9, they've given us the expression and they've identified the objects, and they want to know what's the operation. And the operation we're doing here is we're adding. For number 14, what operations should be performed first? And if we notice, we've got a square root sign. We can't take the square root until we have a single number here. So the first thing we would do if we were evaluating for x of -4 is we would square that -4. So the first operation is squaring. Number 15, simplify. I'm going to break this into two fractions, 3x over 3 plus 7 over 3. I can simplify the first expression to simply x, so my answer is x plus 7 over 3. Check to see if the given number is a solution for the equation. We have 8x plus 6 equals 74. Check, and we want to know if 8 is a solution. So I'm going to replace x with, 9. 9 times 8 is 72 plus 6 is 78, does not equal 74, so 9 is not a solution. Another problem like that, we want to see if x equals 4 is a solution. So I substitute 4 for x, so I've got -16 plus 36 plus 7. This gives me 20 plus 7, 27. 27 equals 27, so it is a solution. Let's jump back over here for number 18. This is a pretty easy solving problem. So in this case, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides, and we're going to get an answer of x equal to -13. Another pretty easy one here. We're going to divide both sides of the equation by -2, and we come up with y equals 6. Let's go back to our detailed solutions for number 20. We want to solve here. I would recommend clearing out the fractions first, so I'm going to multiply by the LCD, and that will clear my denominators. So if I multiply across by 6, here 2 goes into 6 3 times. I've got equal to 6t plus 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract 4 from both sides. I get -1 equals 6t, and then divide by 6. So the answer is -1/6 for t. A company has decreased the weight of its boxes of macaroni by 11%. If the new weight is 12.2, what was the original weight of the box? And this should, right here, not say new weight, it should say original weight. So we're going to so if we decrease the weight by 11%, then there's 89% of the original weight remaining. So we can say 89% of x is 12.2. Translate to an equation, 0.89x equals 12.2. Divide both sides by 0.89, and we come up with a weight of 13.7 ounces. Solve the equation. All right, combine like terms on both sides first. So on the left side, I end up with 19 plus 2y, and on the right side, I've got 13y minus 5y gives me 8y. Subtract 2y from both sides. I come up with 19 equals 6y plus 11, or minus 11, add 11 to both sides. 30 equals 6y, divide by 6, so y is 5. Solve this equation. First we want to distribute here to get rid of the parentheses. So when I do that, I get -20 plus 5x. Combine like terms here. I've got 8 plus 5 is 13x minus 20 equals 71. Add 20 to both sides. 13x is 91. Divide by 13, and we come up with x equals 7. Another solve problem. This is a proportion, so I can cross multiply. 7x equals 3 times, parentheses 63 plus x. Distribute on the right side, I come up with 189 plus 3x. Subtract 3x from both sides. Come up with 4x equals 89, divide by 4, and the answer here is D. A machine in a factory produces 300 units each hour. How many units does it produce per minute? Well, we know there are 60 minutes in an hour, so we can divide the 300 by 60, and we come up with 5 units per minute. Find the length of the third side of the rectangle. There's a right triangle, rather. Pythagorean Theorem. So 10.5 squared plus 18.4 squared equals c squared. Square those two numbers. Add them together. Take the square root. So side C is 21.185. And the units there are in meters. Another Pythagorean theorem. We want to find now side, we actually want to find side A. So a squared plus 3 squared equals 5 squared. A squared plus 9 is 25. Subtract 9. A squared is 16, so A must be 4. Another Pythagorean theorem. We've got a guide wire attached to a telephone pole at a point that is 15 feet above the ground. How long is the wire if it's attached to a point on the ground 20 meters away from the base of the pole? So we're going to take 15 squared plus 20 squared is c squared. 225 plus 400 is c squared. Add the two numbers together, we get 625, take the square root, and the answer here is 25 meters. Find the slope of the line on the graph. Okay, so I've got 2 points on here, -1, and then the 0.44. So I can use my slope formula. This will be 0.1, and this is 0.2. So I take 4 minus -1, divided by 4 minus -1, which simplifies to 5 over 5, or 1. We could also find the rise over the run. The rise here is 5, and the run is also 5. So 5 over 5 gives me 1, so the slope is 1. Find the slope, if it exists, of the line that contains the pair of points. So this will be 0.1, this will be 0.2, so I'm going to take -10 minus 0 over 0 minus 9. -10 over -9 gives me 10 over 9 as the slope. Person is driving a car on a straight road. The graph shows the distance y in miles and after x hours. Okay, we want to find the speed of the car. So we know the 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and identify this point as 0.1, this is 0.2, use my slope formula. 80 minus 30 over 3 minus 1, 50 over 2 equals 25, so the car is going 25 miles per hour. A grocery store, one store charges $10 for 8 cans of soup. A second store charges $6 for 5 cans, but you need to join a purchase club for $2 to buy them. Write the cost model equations for both stores and then find the number of cans that makes the cost equal. So for the first store, the cost is 10 over 8 times x, the number of cans, and we're going to simplify that to be 5 over 4x. And for store B, we've got $2 to join, and then it's $6 per 5 cans, so 6 over 5 per can. Set these two equations equal. Down here, cleared the fractions first. I multiplied the entire equation by 20. So I end up with 25x equals 40 plus 24x. Subtract 24x from both sides, and x equals 40. So at 40 cans of soup, the price is equal at both stores. All right, let's jump back over here for number 33. And in number 33, they're asking you for the slope of the line, and it's in slope-intercept form, so you can easily identify the slope of the line here is simply -9. So that's a pretty easy question. All right, number 34. All right, so we've got, suppose the number of people employed as star counters can be estimated by this linear equation given here, y equals 30x plus 550, where x is the number of years after 2002. First, we want to graph the line. Okay, so the first thing we notice is the slope is 30 and the y-intercept is 0, 550. So we can eliminate a and b because these lines have negative slope. Now let's go and look at the largest value of x in the graph is 10. So I went ahead and I said, what does y equal when x is 10? And I come up with 850. And this point is shown on graph C but not on graph D. So C is the correct answer. Is this point on the line 5, 700? So we're going to substitute these values for x and y and see if we get a true statement. And in fact, when we simplify, we do, so that point is on the line. Find an equation of the line containing the given point and the given slope. Now notice this point is not the y-intercept, it's the x-intercept. So we're going to use the point-slope formula to find the equation. So we take y minus the y-coordinate of the point we were given, which is 0, equals 4 parenthesis, 4 is the slope, parenthesis, x minus the x-coordinate of the point we were given. So I come down to this, y equals 4 times, and then I'm going to distribute 4x plus 16, there's the equation of my line. Okay, let's go back over here for number 36. This is writing the equation of the line shown in the figure. Okay, so this one, there are 2 points here, so you could use the point-slope formula, and I notice there's my y-intercept, so I know that my b is going to be 4. And then I can look at the rise over run here to get the slope. So the run here is 1, the rise is 4. So the equation of this line is simply y equals 4x plus 4. All right, number 37, find the slope of the line that contains these 2 points. The equation, actually, not just the slope. So first we need to find the slope. So I'm going to let this be 0.1 and this be 0.2. Use my slope formula, 9 minus 4 over 1 minus 0, 5 over 1. So the slope of the line is 5. And then I'm going to use the point-slope formula with the first point. So y minus the y-coordinate of that point equals 5 parenthesis x minus the x coordinate, and when I simplify I come up with y equals 5x plus 4. Let's go back over here for number 38. Find the equation of a line, and it's a horizontal line, and it goes through this particular point. Okay, a horizontal line has the format y equals, so in this case it's going to be y equals 5. So the equation of that line is going to be, if I can get, there we go, y equals 5. If it was a vertical line, it would be x equal, and in this case, if this was the point on the line, it would be x equal negative 8. But this was a horizontal, so we know it's going to have the form y equals. All right, let's go back here for number 39. So Marco can hire a plumber for 5 hours, and the total cost is $220. If he hired the same plumber for 13 hours, the total cost is $540. Assume a linear relationship between y, the cost, and the number of hours worked, x. Find an equation in slope-intercept form. All right, so I've got 2 points on the line, 5, 220 and 13, 540. I'll select this as point 1, this is point 2. Find my slope. My slope comes out to be 40, and then I'm going to use my point slope formula to find the equation of the line, and I chose to use the first point. And if I simplify it, I come out with y equals 4x plus 20, and I can check and make sure those 2 points actually lie on that line. Assume an exponential function has a starting value of 29 and a growth rate of 122%. Write an equation to model the situation. All right, the general form of an exponential function is y equals a times b raised to the x power. In this problem, our starting value is 29, so that's going to be a. Now we started at 100%, and then we added 122 to get a total of 222%. So our multiplier is going to be 2.22, not 1.22, but 2.22. And then there's the form of that particular function. Okay, another exponential function, and this time it's decaying, and it's decaying at a rate of 53%. So there's going to be 47% left, so that's going to be my base, 0.47. I started at 364, and here's the form of that particular exponential function. Now we're going to look at another exponential function, and we're going to first of all fill in some points and then select the correct graph. So let's let x be 0. So in that case we get 4, y equals 4. When we let x equal 1, we get y equal 4/7, and when we let x equal 2, we get 4 over 49. Notice as x is increasing, y is decreasing. So when I look at my graphs here, we can eliminate b, because that shows x is increasing, and also d. Okay, so I'm left with 2 graphs. Now notice I've got the y-intercept here. It's 0, 4. So I look at the 2 remaining graphs. Is 0, 4 plotted on this graph? Nope, that point would be right there. How about on this graph? Yes, it does appear on that graph. So the correct answer is C. Okay, use guess and check to find when an exponential function with a decay rate of 93% reaches half of the original amount. Okay, so here's the basic form. We're starting with a, and we want to get to half of a. And since I'm decaying at 7% each hour, then my multiplier is going to be 0.93. I can divide both sides by a and come up with this equation here. So now I just went ahead and I picked values of x and just kept going until I got below 0.5, which happened when x was equal to 10. Okay, here is, let's go back over here for the next one. This one is solving a nonlinear equation. And remember on this one, we've got a square root. So remember, reverse the operation. So we're going to square both sides. So we're going to do 100 squared. So our answer here is going to come out to be x equal to 10,000. All right, let's pop over here for Pythagorean Theorem, another Pythagorean Theorem question. And we're going to have 22 squared plus h squared is equal to 33 squared. Square 22, square 33. Go ahead and solve, and you get a height of that tree of about 24.6 feet. That was number 45. There's a couple more here. Number 46, we want to solve this particular formula for the variable h. Okay, so the first thing I did was multiply both sides by 3, so I get 3v equals ah, and then I'm going to go ahead and divide by a, and so the correct answer here is D. And number 47, I'll be back over here. This is a pretty easy one, another formula question, and they want us to solve for the variable c. So C is going to be equal to capital P minus 2A and minus B. All right, we want to write an equation of the line that goes through the given point with the given slope. Okay, so we've got this point and this slope, so we're going to use the point slope formula. So y minus 5 equals the slope, negative 6 times parenthesis x minus the x coordinate of that point. Go ahead and simplify, and I dropped off the x's here, I realize. So let me get my little pen here. There should be an x here and an x here. And so the correct answer for this one is B. So hopefully this will help you as you're getting ready to take your final exam.